Hello and welcome to Real Opinions, and today I'm going to be reviewing Dead List. But before I do that, I'm gonna do a little anecdotal context segment, because when I tried to search for this film on Google, I couldn't find it anywhere. Because what happens if you type the words Dead List into Google is you get this immediately terrifying portrait of online culture. I mean, granted, the same could be said for almost any two-word combination on the internet, but this one is particularly bad because when you type in those two words, what you get is an abundance of blogs dedicated to forecasting which elderly celebrities will be the next to die. Now, there is obviously a lot of stuff on the internet that makes you question our worth as a species. There's revenge porn, malware viruses, Logan Paul videos, and there are those articles where you have to click on a new page every 50 fucking words. But even in the festering cesspit of depravity that is the internet, that is the World Wide Web, I think Dead List manages to conjure up some uniquely depressing results. So yeah, you just get all of these blogs talking about which celebrity is going to perish next, and all of them are repulsive in their own right, of course. But there's one that comes up right at the top. If you try to look for the film I'm going to be reviewing, this is the first thing that will come up, and it's called The Death List. And it manages to stand out amongst the bunch because it has this running tally of accurate predictions where they basically show who has died, which ones we got right, and it marks them in red, and it has a score out of 50 at the top, next to an eminently classy tagline of "On today, gone tomorrow." They even have a merchandise store where you can buy their underwear. It's sickening and repulsive, and it's so awful. And the reason I'm giving you this context is because I don't think any film should have its SEO compromised by a website that features headlines like "No more squawking for Hawking" and "Hef in Hell." That's about Stephen Hawking and Hugh Hefner, in case you didn't get it. They're making puns out of their deaths. So I felt bad for this film, because if you actually look for it, it's buried beneath all of this decadent slime. I think that by virtue of not being a ghoulish mortality aggregate, it should have some merit. I mean, sure, its camera work is ugly, and the colour grading will be instantly off-putting to anyone with eyes. And yes, the production values are pretty appalling. The acting is kind of embarrassing at times, and the script is full of bizarre non sequiturs and accidentally hilarious moments. But it's still not the deathlist.net, and that made me want to like it. The other thing is, beneath all of the scrappy, amateurish surface, I actually think this is a film that someone has put creative vigour and affection into. And so for this reason, I have to say I kind of found it strangely endearing. It's bad, but it's watchable. Each of the film is basically an anthology, and each of its discrete chapters has something worth recommending in it, be it an interesting, if not particularly well-realised concept, an inventive, if not particularly frightening scare, or just odd decisions that will make you go, huh? Even the lamest sequence in the film, which is this kind of silly Drag Me to Hell ripoff with a demonic hag, offers up plenty of enjoyment. It's unintentional enjoyment, but it's enjoyment all the same. Most of this stems from this like ludicrously hammy performance with this woman who plays the cackling witch, and she does it with such demented relish that she resembles like a Monty Python character. Every single moment she is on screen is amazing, and I was sad when she left because she's like pressing her face up against windows and manically bulging her eyes and like just mugging her heart out. And it does these hard cuts to her that are supposed to be scary. She's supposed to be like a creepy old lady. Like, you know how old people are supposed to be creepy in horror films, but it's just hilarious. Every time it does like a really abrupt smash cut to this woman pressing her face against a window going, I thought it was great. But the weird thing is, I've never seen a film where I can sort of say this, where some of it is so bad it's funny, and some of it's genuinely good. I guess that's the nature of an anthology, but it's a mixed bag of parts that I was enjoying because they were terrible, and parts I was enjoying just on their own merit. For instance, there's this protracted sequence with a monstrous clown, which is clearly riding on the It bandwagon. But it's got some surprisingly novel ideas, like there's balloon art that doubles up as a voodoo doll, and a sentient chain of magic handkerchiefs that like follow people through tight spaces. None of it's particularly frightening, but it's trying to be different. And the framing device, the actual premise of the film, is kind of clever. It's like Death Note meets Kill Your Friends, structured like Sin City or Pulp Fiction. Essentially, you're following a struggling actor who's driving home from a disastrous audition when a cryptic book lands on the roof of his car. He takes it home with the intention of selling it online, but his roommate, who is inexplicably schooled in the dark arts, goes, "Oh, don't throw that away. It's actually a magic book, and you can write someone's name in it, and then they'll die." And basically, the premise is that he writes down the names of all the people he's competing with for this role that he auditioned for, and then we get isolated segments watching what happens to them. So it is an anthology, but the stories actually connect. It's told out of sequence with overlapping parts, which is kind of why I compared it to Pulp Fiction. And I think that's a fairly decent idea because it's makes it have more of a narrative drive than a proper anthology film. It's got a destination and a sort of an overarching journey, but it's not just like a load of disparate episodes, but at the same time they can basically just do whatever they want without wondering how it fits into the bigger picture. So you have like one guy turns black and then is on the run for a crime he didn't commit because he's turned black. Social commentary. Then there's like another bit with the witch, as I said, or the clown, or there's another bit with a guy who comes into contact with like a blob that starts making him deteriorate. So they can just go nuts. It's a very liberating premise that lets them do whatever they want. And they get to sort of do this satirical Hollywood thing where it's like, look, they want to be in this film so bad that they are summoning eldritch horrors to do it. It's all right. It's a clever premise. I don't mind it. The only problem with the premise is that it only makes sense because the main character shares an apartment with a closeted emissary of evil who understands how all this stuff works. But otherwise, I think it's an alright idea. The script is garbage. It's filled with hilarious moments. Like this guy gets attacked by the clown, the demon clown, and starts his first reaction is to think that it's some SAG thing, a SAG thing, a Screen Actors Guild thing. Like that's what they do when you've upset the Screen Actors Guild. They send Pennywise after you, and then there's this amazingly confusing bit where a character is driving along and they've got a drunk girl passed out in the back seat, lying down, and then a guy in the passenger seat, but they stop to pick someone else up. But because the girl's lying on the back seat, she's taking up 3 seats. And so what he says to the person in the passenger seat is, "Sorry, you're going to have to get in the trunk." Rather than just, I don't know, lift up the drunk girl's legs so that they can sit down. It's, "No, get in the trunk." And I spent so long going, wait, what? Huh? And another thing that conjured up a lot of laughs for me was the film that they were auditioning for. We meet these characters, they all go to the same audition, and I guess there's like 6 of them. They're auditioning for a fucking Martin Scorsese film, which they keep saying throughout the film. It's like, "Oh, Marty's not going to like this," or "I just got off the phone with Marty," which was laughable in of itself. But what fucking film is this that Martin Scorsese is auditioning for leads and he's only auditioning 6 guys who live in the same area? Because once he kills off the others, the role is his for some reason. It's baffling. And then you get to see bits of the film they're making, and it's, I guess, as far as this film is concerned, Martin Scorsese must have gone really downhill because it's the cheapest, most awful looking set imaginable. So I don't know why they had to keep saying Martin Scorsese. They couldn't have just said it was a big film. Despite the amount of time I spent laughing at it, I also did, like I said, I enjoyed some parts of it quite seriously, and I think that overall the Dead List is alright. It's got some really bad effects, some really good effects, some really bad ideas, some really good ideas. It's a mixed bag, but it's always engaging for one reason or the other. And in that sense, I kind of liked it, and I want it to actually be something that comes up when you type in Dead List on Google, because I feel sorry for this film that it is underneath that fucking awful website. So yeah, I would say go ahead and watch it if you like shit like I do. It's alright.